Hey artists, welcome back to the sculpture. As you can see, I am almost finishing it, and it's taken me quite a bit of time to do it because this thing involves a little bit more engineering than what I'm used to. With portraits, you don't have to worry too much about that. You can just put an armature inside and eventually scoop out and hollow out the inside. I'm using water-based clay for this sort of thing. And the only thing I used as reference was this to start out, which was a clay model that I did a while ago of the pose and everything. And I did it from life, but I did this like years and years ago. And it's quite heavy and it's also solid. This one, because it is so much larger, it's about 2 feet tall. You need to make sure when you are getting ready to fire, if you're going to fire it and if you're using water-based clay, you need to make it hollow. So right now the head is hollow, the torso is hollow, the legs are hollow, and even down the arms. And I also hollowed out the structure. The only other thing that you need to do, now you can't just leave the hollow in the body, otherwise the air won't be able to escape, the water won't be able to escape. You need to make sure there's a hole all the way to the base of your sculpture. And that's what I'm going to use this drapery for. I'm going to get this nice and wet, and I'm going to do some more details on the drapery because it's kind of an important thing, because we need this to support the sculpture so it's there as a structure, because there's so much weight. This weighs quite a bit. I haven't weighed it out. Even when I removed the inside of the sculpture, it weighs quite a bit of, it just weighs quite a bit. And if you were to take this to a place to get it fired, you have to pay by the pound. So always keep that in mind, that you want to keep this as light as possible. All right, let's get started. One of the things I like to do is take a brush and brush on the beard, basically to kind of show the direction that the beard is moving to. And since my hands are too big to fit in between these, a bristle brush like this really helps get the details a little bit more crystallized. And I'm kind of blending things together. You have to keep in mind you want to have your clay nice and wet. And I'm just going to kind of go over it really quick. It's not about creating a very detailed sculpture, but you just want to be able to have some resemblance and not look too choppy. So you want to unify all of these strands of hair together. You're not like sculpting individual hairs, you just want to sculpt the major forms. This system using a bristle brush, by the way, you can just get bristle brushes from oil painting, old brushes. They all do the exact same thing. And if it gets a little bit too soft, I'll show you in a minute, to create some harder edges. So if this is getting a little bit too soft, you can just take your regular tool and create some deeper recessions in there. You don't want to make it all the same sort of like thickness. You want to vary the strands of hair. Even like use your, so right here, maybe let's create some different, and I don't like just creating texture. I try to model things, and I'm not using a model at this point, so I have to make things up. But just from looking at some sculptures, I like to just kind of do these things. I'm just gonna show some of the imperfections of the hair. This tool is really good for creating some harder edges. When you have it at this point, you don't want to just have very soft edges everywhere. You want to kind of define the muscles. So we have the trapezius that goes down to here. You could indicate it all the way to the spine, but normally it just kind of loses a little bit of the edge as it goes down. Now I'll take my brush and just kind of do this. Just push it down, take your finger. Now since I can't get into the spine here, wet it down and just take your brush and just kind of run it down like this. Some of these places I definitely can't get in with my fingers or anything, so that's when the brush comes in to get in there. Now at this point I have to remove my only armature supporting the figure, which are these three prongs. And since the clay has dried quite a bit surrounding the figure, I have to dig out using my scooping tool those prongs. But this armature, I have quite a bit of flexibility, so when you look at it I can slide that down and then just pull out the prongs. But before I do that, I don't want to put any pressure on the figure because it is now only being held with clay. There is nothing else holding it up. So if I put any sudden movements, it could collapse. And at this point, while I dug out the back, the small of the back, I am digging out to the hollows I made previously in the torso. You need to connect them all. You can't have like one chunk that's not connected, otherwise the sculptures are going to explode in the kiln. But this is pretty much how you hollow most of the figure. Right around here it kind of gets lost a little bit, but the erector spinae kind of comes down here. Then you have what's called the coccyx of the hip or the backbone. This tool to kind of scrape and blend the forms together, but I'm trying not to make it too detailed. We are almost done with the sculpture. It's freestanding at this point. Only a few more sessions with the sculpture and we should be ready to fire it and then patina it. As always, thanks for watching and I will see you in the next video.